Okay, we're back on head gaskets today. It's day 8 or 9 or 10. I'm not totally sure. But it's Monday, January 23rd. And yeah, here we are. We're going to be sealing up the front cover today. Because I'm using the standard RTV, just ultra gray by Permatex. It takes 24 hours before you can fill it with fluids. You need to let it cure that long so it'll stay resilient to oils and everything. And this whole front seal, or this whole front cover, gets a huge bead of RTV all the way around it. And so, regardless of how far I get putting this back together today, I'm still going to have to wait until tomorrow to actually start it and put oil in it and put coolant in it. So I don't really have huge plans for today besides getting all the timing components back on and resealing the front cover. Besides that, I don't really care too much how far I get on the intake or getting the accessories put back together or the exhaust back on. Or all the oil lines that are kind of routed all over the place. Don't really care too much about that. And I might take off early to go get this battery tested and to go buy a new fuel line for the fuel rails. So we'll see how far I get. I need to kind of get going so that I can get the timing components on here and then get the front cover on and hand tighten so that it has an hour to kind of sit and cure slightly before I torque it. So it's 11 o'clock right now. I'm assuming getting all the timing components on is going to take about an hour, and then maybe another 15 minutes to make sure the surfaces are all clean and actually lay the bead. And so by 12:30 I'll have another hour to fiddle around with things before I can actually torque all those bolts down. So yeah, that's kind of the timeline I'm looking at today. So 12:30, hopefully I'll be torquing, no, 1:30 I'll be torquing the front cover, and then yeah, and then I'll probably stick around for another hour after that, just kind of putting some other things back. And then I'll go run to the parts store, get a few things, and then come back tomorrow and finish everything up, put oil in it, put fluid in it, and start it up. Let it idle for a long time, and I'll dump some seafoam in the gas tank, let it run seafoam through it, and yeah. And then this spring or summer, once it warms up and I can work on it outside, I'll go ahead and buy one of those little quart things of, it's probably not even a full quart, it's probably only like 2 pints. But it's a coolant flush thingy. It's like $3 at Walmart, just a Prestone thingy. I'll run that through the radiator, and then I'll put seafoam in the block before I change the oil this spring and clean everything out that way, because I'm not able to do that right now. So that's the goal, and that's the plans for the future. So yeah, that's where we're starting today. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the factory service manual and make sure I know what I'm doing with the timing, and we'll get going. There's a little bit of RTV on that, and I don't know where it came from, but whatever. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you're getting ready to put your timing components back together, you want to compress the tensioners. They have a little piston in them. All you do is you push it down and kind of twist it, and then the hard part is seeing to line it up. You just push it down on a hard surface. There you go. Almost. There we go. Push it down and kind of twist it like that on a clean flat surface, and then I'm just using a little tiny drill bit, and you just line up the hole on the piston with the hole on the housing, push it down and slide the pin through it, then just kind of let that sit. These ones are not nearly as fragile as the ones on the EJ25. Whoops. You don't really want that to happen, but it's not the end of the world. So just shove it back on. With that done, we're over here looking at the factory service manual again. And the first thing you want to do is align the crank sprocket with the arrow at the 9 o'clock position. Once that is done, you want to come here and you're going to align the exhaust cam sprockets to the 12 o'clock position with this little keyway here. Then the intake cam sprocket on the right hand side, you're going to be 45 degrees between A and B, and then the left hand you're going to be, oh, it's 40 degrees. The left hand you're going to be 15 degrees. Then we turn the crank sprocket clockwise to align the top mark to the 12 o'clock position, because piston number 1 is in top dead center. Then don't rotate the crank or sprocket until the timing chain is installed completely. Then you install the idler sprocket, and then you install the timing chain, aligning the marks with the marks on the sprockets. So I am gonna install all my sprockets first, and then I'll come back and set the chain up how it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm getting everything on right now. I just wanted to show you. So if you do mix these up, it says RH down there in the bottom right corner. That's stamped into the top. So RH is always right hand. This one has an LH on it. Same with on the exhaust sprockets. They also have it. But you can also tell because the right hand side is popped out farther, so you can see that they're deeper, I guess, whereas this sprocket's just flat. And comparing the two, this one's way deeper. So that's another way you can tell. Anyway, to get these on, there's a little pin inside there that lines up with the pin right there, and so you can spin it until it finds that pin right there. So now for this one has 2 marks on the sprocket, and so we're going to line both of them up. So there's one arrow, and it goes at the top at like 12:15, I would say, and then the round mark, just the dot, goes at 40 degrees up. So there you can see top right there is our dot, and there's our arrow. So we want our arrow, you can also come in here with compressed air, blow off any chunkies, and make sure that they're all clean, because you don't want chunks in like that. So that's where we want that. This one here only has 1 timing mark. It's right there. So the service manual tells us that we want that one, what's the degree mark? 15 degrees up from 3 o'clock position. I can't tell from here, but I need to get my head down where the camera is, but that's about where we want it. Lining things up like that. Oh, I guess, yeah, the other thing that I did, I put So I spun it back about 45 degrees from top dead center so that you could rotate the cams around without them hitting any pistons. Otherwise, you're gonna be tapping the piston heads with your valves. So now we turn the crank sprocket clockwise and align the top mark to 12 o'clock position. The arrow is pointing at 90. So now we're going to come back in here. You reset your crank to top dead center with the arrow pointing up, not the dot, the arrow. And now we install the lower idler sprocket. And there is a big fat washer, or it's not even a washer, it's like a centering pin on this. Check the bearing surface on here. You can replace this sprocket. You don't need to if it's still good. Put that guy on. And we're going to torque that to 50 foot-pounds. 50.6 on this sprocket. Okay, so now we install the left-hand timing chain. The way to line it up, you have a couple of colored links. This one here is blue. Hopefully you'll be able to tell the difference between this and the rest. This one is blue, and it's only on one side. The back side doesn't have that, so this side faces out. Leave this oily. If you do clean it off because you get junkies on it, go ahead and dip this in oil again because you want to make sure that this is oiled up nice. Alright, so I have this thing. We're just gonna dunk it just like that. Okay. There's a blue one. Okay. Okay, so this one is to come and sit right there. Okay, and there's also a gold link. Perfect. Okay, so your timing marks are the dots. So there's a dot right there, and then that link is gold. I'm hoping you can tell the difference between those two colors. Then you come over here, and we have a blue one on top of the dot. We come down here, we have another blue one right there on top of the dot. And then you just route it over the water pump and under the idler on the bottom and on the back side, because this is the closer towards the rear, or the first one. And then it comes up and you're again right there. So it's really slick. It's a whole lot easier, I think, using the chain than doing a timing belt, especially because there's one for each side. So yeah, you don't have to do the whole clamping it with vice grips and anything like that because you're trying to deal with both sides of the engine at once. This is really slick, really easy to make sure that it's correct. And so now, our service manual, after we have those on there, it wants us to install the upper idler, which is this one here, and torque it to 50.6 foot-pounds. Okay, so you take your upper idler, and this one's going to have slightly more tension on it. Slip it forward on the bolt, and just kind of set it right in there, and then get your bolt set and threaded, and you're good to go. install the chain guide between the cams. So these guys. In the factory service manual it says that you are supposed to replace these. Note, use a new installing bolt. Anytime it says note, that is a required replacement part. Except I talked to the parts manager at the Subaru dealership. He sold lots of parts for this at the dealership and to private people, and none of his techs have ever replaced those bolts. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm not going to replace them. So here's your tensioner. That goes right on there, and then you torque these little guys to 12 foot-pounds. So I'm just gonna replace them. Well, I'm not gonna replace them. I'm just gonna put the originals back in. We might regret that down the road, but that is what I heard from a parts guy who, I mean, his job is to sell parts, and he told me not to buy them. So that's enough of a reason for me not to buy them. Again, check your little plastic guides. If they look cracked or chipped or anything, replace those. Those would probably be kind of expensive, but it'd be worth it if you're keeping the car around, because by doing all of this, I'm sure this thing's going to run for up until 300,000 miles. Easily. So, it's got 150,000 miles on it right now. I said I was going to keep my third generation forever, and I don't know how long it's going to stick around, but this one really is, I mean, this is the body style I've been wanting. This is the body style I've been wanting for a really long time, and I think I really will keep this one around for a long time. Yeah, that's what I thought. These are only torqued to, not 12 foot-pounds. These are 4.7 foot-pounds, so barely torqued at all. We have this lower chain guide. Again, check it out, make sure it's not cracked or anything. It has good surfaces. Make sure those surfaces are cleaned out as well. And then it slides on right here. So put it on the chain, slide it onto, and then this bolt gets torqued to 12 foot-pounds. Now we install the tensioner lever right up here, which is an M8 hex head, and this also gets torqued to 12 foot-pounds. Okay, so now we install our our actual tensioner. Slides right into those two holes, and those also get torqued to 12 foot-pounds. This blue one to that blue one. So down here, now this one, and then that one on the back. They have to be on the same link. And they are. So, just make sure, pull this guy off. Yeah. See, that one's too far now. One on that one. Okay. Lined up on the same apex. So route the timing chain on the intake cam sprocket, and then route it on the exhaust cam sprocket. And I'm looking for gold links. There's a gold link. Right there. Can you tell? That one's slightly different colored. So then we're just gonna wrap it right here. Yeah, see, that's one off right there. Okay, so I got it set right. I just had to fiddle with each one of these was off by like 1 degree, and so anyway, so that one is lined up right there with that timing mark, and then down here, and then And then that timing mark is lined up. Got a ton of slack down at the bottom. And then these ones are lined up how they should be. Install the chain guide, right hand, and install the chain tensioner, right hand. And this picture tells us what they're talking about. So chain guide A, this top one, and then with chain tensioner lever, this bottom one. Cool. So this top one first, and then that bottom one. There is this part in the service manual. It's under step 7, where you want to make sure there's a big enough gap between the center chain guide and this large one on the right hand side. And so that gap right there, you can see where it's telling you. You want that gap to be between 0.331 and 0.339 inches wide, or 8.4 to 8.6 millimeters. This is how thick they want it to be. To do this, I'm using just like a set of feeler gauges from O'Reilly's, and I'm using 0.032 all the way to 0.014 inches, and all of those together make the 0.339. No, 0.331. All of those is 0.331 inches. Running it down between them like that. Yeah, feels good. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten everything up with that in there. These ones just go to 4.7 foot-pounds. Check that each mark on the sprocket and timing chain is matched, and then draw out the pin stopper from the chain tensioners. So I'm just gonna go ahead and check around all of them again one last time. Okay, so timing marks over here. There's a blue one. Down here, there's a blue one. Make sure these two are lined up. That blue one on that blue one. Right up here, gold one on the dot. Right here, gold one on the dot. And then down here, gold one on the dot. So they're all there, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those pins. Here's that one, tensioned. This one still seems loose, but I'm assuming that's going to even out once it gets turned around. Alright, so with those pins out, that's the end of the job. But there is one more step that you want to do before you reseal the front cover, which is not explained in the factory service manual. You want to turn the crank around twice, and then your timing marks should all match up. Not the timing marks on the actual belt, but the timing marks of the cams and everything when it's back at top dead center. So if they're not, you want to start over and do it again, because obviously if they're not timed correctly, you're going to have issues starting it and driving it, and then you're going to have to come back in here and pull off the front cover and scrape off all of the RTV and reseal it, and it's a big job and a big hassle, and you can check it right now. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And my Woodruff key is over here, so we're going to go 90, 180, 360. Now we're going to go again. 90, 180, all the way up and around to 360. Okay, there's my timing mark up here. And we're going to check them all again. So, the arrow is pointing up. Over here, this one did not have one, but this one did. So the keyway is up. This one is over here at like 10 degrees or whatever. I'll check that again. But the big thing, I mean the easy thing, is just are these words vertical or parallel to the ground. Then you come over here, same thing over here. This one does have a mark and it's straight up. And then this keyway is straight up. There you have it. I am confident that the timing is done correctly and we won't have any issues down the line. So yeah, that's it. Now everything is torqued. Well, not everything is torqued. I need to torque the sprockets because I couldn't do that before because I don't have the sprocket tool. You can make one. You just take like a 2x4 or a 1x6. You drill a big hole saw for the sprocket, and then drill the holes for here, and you thread a couple of bolts into those holes. And anyway, the big 2x4 or big slab of wood you're using will stop it from turning, just like the wrench would. But what I'm doing is I didn't torque these, but I put them on and everything. So now what we're going to do is just like we did before, is stick a big screwdriver back here in the keyway, in the flex plate, to lock it, and then we'll be able to torque these to proper spec. So I need to look that spec up. Oh hey, it's right there. And here is the tool that you can make yourself. It doesn't have to look like that. It just has to be a board with a hole in it. Same with this one. Okay, so that's the removal, install, tightening, torque. Okay, so all of them get torqued to 21.8 foot-pounds. So I'm going to say 22 foot-pounds. And then the intake sprockets get torqued another 45 degrees. And the exhaust sprockets get torqued 25 degrees. On top of your 22. So, let me find my screwdriver and get going. So I just torqued all of them to 22 foot-pounds. And now I'm going to do the exhaust another 25 degrees, plus or minus 5 degrees. I'm just using this guy. So half of 90 is 45, half of 45 is 30, so I want to go to right here. Right there. And then my intake, it's another 45 degrees. Plus or minus 5 degrees. That looks good. It's done now, and it is done correctly. I had a lot of trouble with this tensioner. It was harder to compress than this one, especially with slippery hands. So anyway, that's it for the timing. It's looking good. Now I'm gonna spend another, I don't know, it's 1:30 already. That took way longer than it should have. But yeah, I had a couple of upsets. But anyway, gonna clean off all of the surfaces. This one is obviously kind of oily now, so I need to spend some time with brake cleaner and a rag. You also want to make sure that you're doing it to these, because these, there's a few of them. There's one over here. Those also get RTV'd. I think right here, and then over here. Those surfaces get RTV'd, and so make sure they're clean too. It's all in the surface manual, so be sure to have it open and be checking it like I am. Alright, RTV time. Everything is set up and ready to go. All the surfaces are cleaned off, and I just replaced this seal, so we're gonna go ahead and go for it. I have all the bolts that I bought. I bought these from MrMetric.com, and they averaged about 50 cents a nut, and they're the exact size, everything I need. So we're using them. Drop it down. There we go. Cool. Okay, so for everybody watching, here's the 3 different sizes. Blow this up again. Here's our 3 different sizes. So we have A's, these 2 here, and then this top section. B's are all the left side, and C's are all the right side. And then C's are the longest, B's are the mids, and A's are the shorties. Alright, it's 3:30 on the dot, and I've been working. So I got the front cover on, all the bolts in, and it's been an hour now, so I'm going to torque them all. I got the driver's side valve cover on, and the coils in on both sides. I got this oil line on, and I was getting ready to get the other oil line on, and I pulled off the, it's easier to get to if you pull off the oil filter, and the oil filter was kind of seized on there. It doesn't have to be on that tight. This one wasn't like seized or anything. If I had like an oil filter wrench, I could pull it off really easy, but you don't even need to go that tight. You can do hand tight, and then it's easy enough to just pull them off with your hand, so no reason to torque it down a ton. Anyway, to get it off, since I don't know where an oil filter wrench is, I just stuck a screwdriver through it and used a screwdriver to pull it off. Anyway, literally hammered a screwdriver through it, if anybody had any questions about that. Anyway, yeah, so coils are in on both sides. This oil line needs to go on, but it's been an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and torque all of these. They're all just 4.7 foot-pounds. I also got the pulley on. That big 22 millimeter bolt gets torqued to 131 foot-pounds, and I did it the same thing, just stuck a screwdriver. Oh, it's still in there. Yeah, so the screwdriver held really well. I got it torqued, and then I just put the cover back on. The cover bolts get torqued to 4.7 foot-pounds. Anything that's a 10 millimeter bolt, basically, or a head that you would take off with a 10 millimeter wrench, is about 4.7 foot-pounds. Oh, it's 4.8 foot-pounds. Okay, so anyway, I'm here in the factory service manual. Number 4 for the front cover is tighten the bolts in numerical order as shown in the figure. Tightening torque is 4.8 foot-pounds, not 4.7 foot-pounds. The extra 0.1 pound is essential. Anyway, here is your order for tightening. Take a screenshot of that, do what you need. Okay. For 14, 15. Okay, this is weird. Well, take a screenshot of that because you're going to need it, obviously. And I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can blow that up. It's kind of going in kind of crossways, but have that drawn out. Heck, you could even number it just with a Sharpie and just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, that might work pretty well, actually. I'm not going to. I have the computer right here, but if that might be something you would want to do while you have the front cover off and you're like scraping the RTV off of it, take it inside, wash it off like I did, and then number it with Sharpie. And that way, when you have it out here in the garage, you know exactly which one is which, and you don't even have to stop and look. So this is going to take me a while because of that. Anyway, once I get that torqued, I mean tightened, it's not even torquing really, I'm going to do the same on the valve cover, because after I get this done, I'm sure that will be an hour. And then that's it for today. Like I said, it's 3:35. I probably won't be done with this until closer to 4. But that's going to be it for today. I'm going to run home and have some time with the family. But yeah, good productive day. I mean, this is the very end of it. Tomorrow I'll come back and I'll get the intake manifold on. Oh, the other thing, I also put the exhaust manifold on with new gaskets. So that was one of the other things I did in the hour waiting around. Anyway, so that's on. I just need to, tomorrow when I get here, I need these guys. I need to remember to do that. And so I'm going to open up a spreadsheet or my notes really quick and actually write that in so I don't forget. So I need to get a fuel line for the fuel rails. And then I bought a new ground strap because this ground is pretty terrible looking. So I have a new one. Actually, I bought a 4-foot one, and I guess I don't even need 4 feet because it just goes from here to there. That's okay. I'll have extra. Maybe I'll buy another one. We'll see. Anyway, that one's really corroded and it's super nasty, and might as well spend $8 at Walmart for a new one of those so my wife won't have any issues starting the car. This one's nasty too. I might buy a new one of those. We'll see. It's not necessary, but it would be nice to have everything done on here and not have to worry about anything for a long time. So tomorrow, everything gets put back on. Intake manifold, power steering pump, AC condenser, radiator. I need to bolt my water, or my oil, whatever this is. Jeez. I need to bolt this back on. This is the power steering cooler. And finish up just these little kinds of things. There's a couple of other oil lines and a couple of water lines. Like the water line that cools the oil filter. I guess it's just the oil cooler. That needs bolted up, and just a bunch of little random things like that, I mean, take time, but we'll probably make it so I have a full day's work tomorrow anyway. But that's it for today. Oh, alternator goes back on too. That's it for today. Got a lot done. It was a good day. I'm happy to have this motor sealed back up and ready for some new fluids tomorrow. This one thing I never said, this little guy has a little rubber washer on it that I didn't even realize, but the parts guy at the Subaru dealership, he put that on my ticket without me even asking, because he knew I was sealing up, so that was good. It was like $2 for a freaking dinky washer, and you could probably get away with just sticking RTV around that. It wasn't on there when I took this off because the last mechanic who pulled it off didn't know about it. So, good to have. But yeah, that's it for today. We will see you tomorrow, and looking forward to having this baby back on the road. Peace out.